Hello, hello, and happy Friday. I am excited for today's conversation. Today, I have Sarah St. Pierre with me. Sarah designs bold, vibrant brands for let me try that again. Purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are here to uplift, inspire, and create meaningful impact. Her mission is to amplify the voices of coaches, creatives, and wellness professionals so that their work stands out, connects deeply, and drives lasting change. She also hosts the Inspired by Design podcast, which I was on recently. Sarah, I'm so glad to have this conversation with you. Welcome.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for having me.
So I always love to start off with this question of just like, tell us your story, because I find that most of my guests, this wasn't their, I'm going to grow up and be this when I grow up, right? So how did you get to where you are and just share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, I am a multi-passionate being, and as a young child, I wanted to be anything and everything, and I feel like it changed very often. So, at one point, I wanted to be a pediatrician, and another point, I wanted to be a journalist, and then I wanted to be like so many opposite ends of the spectrum as well. But ultimately, I just always loved design. That was something that was very consistent in my life, and I always loved creative passions like drawing, painting, anything in the creative realm. And so when I was in high school and college, I took some graphic design classes, but most of the graphic design careers that I knew about were working in marketing and working for a company and maybe mainly doing marketing, but maybe getting to do some design work here and there. So I graduated with a communications degree and went into a business working as a marketing specialist. And I liked it a lot, but it was a lot of analytical, a lot of tracking. Um,
Not very creative.
Not very
I mean, you
creative.
can get creative with spreadsheets and all,
Yeah.
but
And I did. I
yeah,
color coded everything,
of course.
but I would have little hints of design. Like they wanted their menu of services redesigned. And so I was like, "Ooh, I'll take that on." And then I pull up Adobe and I redid the whole thing. And there was like I would send newsletters out and I did like their social media. So there was parts of design in it, but it wasn't enough and I really missed it. And for a long time I've done some like freelance graphic design work. So I've done like one-off projects here and there. But it wasn't until I left that job where I was just like, okay, maybe I can pursue this full time. And I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really have any idea of what I was doing other than the fact that I knew
I
I
think
was going to
most
do it.
entrepreneurs probably start very similar. I have this passion, let
Yeah.
me go do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of hit the ground running and the rest is history. And it hasn't been easy, but I know that I've been meant to do it because it's just kind of been an unfolding in a way that has been not seamless, but just kind of like inspiring in the way that I have enjoyed a lot of it. So it's not like it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I know about you is you have this mantra, which is very similar to one of my taglines of change your mind, change your life. Mine
Mm-hmm.
is change your energy, change your life. But the work that I do with my clients is mindset work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more of where that came from and how that shows up for you.
Yeah, so I feel like within my work, I work with a lot of coaches, and I feel like that kind of came through in the sense that I went on a big personal development journey in the last year and started investing in coaching and just really working on my mindset. And I feel like as a business owner and an entrepreneur, especially, you really have to hone in on your mindset. And I feel like all we really have control over is the outlook that we have on things. There's not a lot of things that we can control in life, but you can control what's up here.
Yep.
So it's
100%. You're talking my language.
so it's very important that we make sure it's a good place to be up there. And one of the best ways to make anything into fruition, make any big idea come true, is to kind of change your outlook on it. And I think change your mind, change your life was really apparent in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey when it came to imposter syndrome, which I know is not something that I don't face anymore. I absolutely face it every day, but it's something that I've really had to change my mindset towards. Um, and that specifically has just helped me so much in my business because there's so many things that you can let hold you back, but if you change your mindset around them, you can overcome them, and which then in turn changes your life.
Yeah, I love that. You know, imposter syndrome is one of those things that I'm curious how much it would exist if we didn't have social media.
Oh, I know.
You know, I had a conversation with a coach that I worked with a couple of years ago. And I said, I see this other coach on social and she's doing all these things and blah, 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 blah. And my coach said to me, so I've seen behind the curtain with that person and it isn't all that. And I went, oh. Like those are things I would say to my clients, right?
Hmm.
And then I had an opportunity about a year ago to actually meet that other coach. And I was like, oh, yeah, we are not even the same person, right? We have very different ways of showing up and different values. And I have nothing to like, I don't want to be her. And she
Yeah.
probably didn't want to be me either, right? But what we see and what we perceive is our own stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so easy to compare yourself to someone who's been in business for 17 years and you're on your first year, or it's really easy
Right.
to compare yourself outside of business to just anyone who has this seemingly perfect life and they go on vacations and they're in this perfect relationship and they have the most amazing kids who listen to them and
Right.
sit in perfectly for the photos that they take. And it's like everyone's Instagram is a curated highlight reel. I mean,
Right.
even mine is,
Of
and
course.
yours probably is like as much as we try and be as real, again, we'll only share what we are willing to share. So you don't really know what's going on behind closed doors in any
Right.
sense.
I mean, I have a really good marriage. I love my husband. He's my best friend. And there are times I want to kill him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's
people are like, oh my
balance.
God, you have the best. And I'm like, because you see me on social media. Like, I'm not showing you the ugly. I mean, I will talk about it, but I'm not
Yeah.
blasting it on social media,
No.
right? It's what we want you to see. And, for me, social media is like, I love my Facebook memories. It's like having my own little scrapbook. Half the stuff I post is for my own benefit. So that,
Yeah.
a year from now or 10 years, I'm like, oh, yeah, I did that thing.
Hmm.
So I know you talk about the importance of showing up before you're even ready.
Hmm.
So can you talk about what that means and also share a time in your own journey when you actually did that?
Yeah, so I think this is super important because we often feel like in order to make steps in any direction of our life, we need to wait for some moment or some sign or something to then tell you, okay, go ahead, move forward and do the thing. And for anyone who's been successful in any sense, they've had to start out as a beginner. They didn't just like start out with a multi-million dollar company. They didn't just like start out as the most hired
Right.
public speaker ever. So they kind of had to like make steps in that. And in the very beginning, you're not going to necessarily be ready to do the things that you want to do. And people think that you are. And I think like when you're on the outside and looking at other people who have accomplished what you want, you think that again like the imposter syndrome comes in and stuff, but you think that you need this like special formula, but in reality you really just have to start and you have to start before you're ready and then you will in turn become ready because you start to like give yourself, it's almost like exposure therapy. You're slowly exposing yourself
Right.
to the thing and then proving to yourself that you're okay and you can do it and you're building that tolerance.
And I almost feel like what stops us is perfectionism, right? Well, I can't roll the program out until everything's in place and all the things and blah, 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 blah. And just
Yes.
roll it out.
Yes. And going to a time in my life when I started before I was ready kind of touches on perfectionism as well is when I was starting my business, I wanted to make sure everything was perfect and I wanted to make sure that I had like all of my offers aligned and everything was like perfect, but how are you supposed to know if your offers are good and what you want to do if you don't go
If
ahead
you
and
don't
do
actually
them?
start
Right.
using,
Like
right.
you learn from the experience of doing the thing, and that's when you can always pivot. You can always tweak your offers. You can always change that color in your color palette. You can always redo your logo if you wanted to. You can always change, but it's just getting out there and starting is how you're going to even realize, okay, maybe I don't want to work with that client. Maybe I do want to work with that client. Maybe I do like this brand messaging. Maybe I don't. And so from there, you can kind of tweak. And so I feel like if I hadn't just started, I would still be waiting
Still
and
be
working.
planning.
Yes, I would still be planning for the business that I one day want to start. And you really just have to start.
Yeah, I feel like so I've been a coach for about 12 years and but really only full time since 2020. And really it was somebody I got laid off from a corporate job in December of 2019 and April of 2020 somebody was like, "Hey, you coaching?" And I was like, "Sure, because other than painting my entire house, what else am I doing?" So I kind of jumped in without even really thinking about, "Oh, I'm going to do this," because a few years before I had been laid off from another job and I was like, this is the time I'm going to do my coaching business and all the planning I, it didn't happen. Right? Like I felt like I didn't really have a choice. Somebody was like, "I'm looking for a coach." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And then I found another client and I was coaching almost before the business was in place, if you will. And
Mhm.
then and it's still 5 years later, things are changing and, morphing and what have you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like have you heard that saying like build the plane while you're flying or something?
Right, right. How do you guide your clients through to move through? Because I would imagine a lot of fear comes up for them in the work that you're doing with them, right?
Mhm.
And move them through fear and still be able to take aligned action and get what you need from them so that you can do your job.
Yeah, a lot of clients that I've worked with are in the early stages of business, or some like are getting ready to launch. They have like the business idea, but just none of the design or anything behind it. And so a lot of what I guide my clients through is really getting clear on who it is we're serving, what it is we're doing before they even launch, because you can get out there and post about your business and everything, but if it's not aligned to what you want to be doing, you're just going to be living in that fear. And so you really, by getting clear and really working through and taking it in bite-sized pieces. I think that's one of the most feedback that I get from people is that it's really digestible. And so when you're sitting down and you're getting ready to rebrand, or if you're just creating your business in the first place, you can sit down and write down everything that you have to do. And then you're going to be completely and utterly overwhelmed because you
Right.
gotta register the LLC, you gotta make the website, you have to create the brand, you have to start an Instagram, and there's just so many things. But in actuality, none of that has to be done in a single sitting. And so by working together, we can really slowly break it down and be like, okay, this is where we're gonna start first. And then it's kind of again like an unfolding, and it all just kind of domino effects onto the other, starting with like the brand strategy and the direction behind the brand. So then we can really like build out the rest of it. And once you get clear on that, I feel like my clients have started to just like become a little bit more confident in what they're um, offering before the brand website is even launched. So that way they can really start to like find that ideal client and start to know like buzzwords in their head of like who it is they're looking for and those pain points and things like that.
Nice. In your experience, how does building a brand really actually help entrepreneurs build their confidence? Because I would imagine they feel more grounded and more confident so that they can then go to market.
Yeah, I know a lot of business owners before investing in brand and web design, from anyone, not even just me, that I feel like you can DIY for a long time, but then you hit a certain point in your business where you're just not feeling super confident in what it is that you're putting out there, which is fine because not everyone has a creative side of their brain. And some people are just, you can be the best coach in the world, but your website doesn't accurately show that, or
Right.
your website's super clunky and like users are dropping off after 1 minute. And then it's when they get on a call with you that they really fall in love with you. And so what building a brand and website that really like is aligned with you and visually is appealing and you feel really aligned with, you're going to feel more confident in promoting yourself in general because everything just looks better and is more cohesive and also speaks directly to your ideal client. So you're not just kind of getting out there and talking about your I find that some people they like don't want to promote. I know for me in the beginning, like before I really when I was just trying to like get out there and get started, um I didn't I
Like
wasn't promoting myself
self-promotion,
to
it
the full
feels,
capacity. It feels icky. Like it's like
yeah.
and
And here's the
self-promotion
thing.
feels icky in a lot of capacities.
Well, I think part of it is the energy you put behind it, right? One of
Mhm.
the things that I've gotten better at doing is actually asking anyone, do you know anyone who could use my services? Do you need a coach? Because if I'm not willing to do that, I'm missing opportunities,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not a hard sales coach, right? Like if we get on a call and do an exploratory call, make the decision or don't, right? But
Mhm.
it's the energy we put behind it. Because if I don't ask, the answer is no.
Yeah,
Every single time,
exactly.
right? But we
Mhm.
feel like there's this ickiness, but that's us that we have
Mhm.
to get over it, right? Because the person has their own boundaries, their own stories, their own whatever.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's yeah, it's a
Yeah,
journey,
it
right?
is for sure. And I feel like sometimes like with brand and web design, it's not really just design. A lot of it is the strategy and the messaging, which also is the energy behind your brand and
Right.
why it is you're doing what you're doing. It's not just what you're doing. And I think that's super important because what you do, who you are and why you do it is what sets you apart from anyone else who does the same thing as you. And so by really getting clear on that, you build confidence, but you also get super clear in speaking to that specific person that you can then help.
I had new copy and a new website done a year and a half ago, something like that.
Mhm.
And my About Me page, I didn't even remember what was on it, quite honestly. And I got on a networking call recently, and the woman was like, all right, I want to know about skydiving and parasailing because I want to do those things, right? And I was like, she's like, those are on your website. I was like, oh, somebody's looking at my website. But before it was just like this, it was paragraph, right? Like the person
Mhm.
made it so that it was more visually appealing for somebody to read. And it really was more about me, right?
Mhm.
Things about me that people can learn and understand.
Yeah, I people don't realize how people are such emotional buyers and they just want to connect with people,
Right.
especially in like a coaching capacity. You're not hiring a coach because you need coaching, you need their coaching. Like you need a
Right.
specific person and not every coaching style is for everyone. So
And
I
it's a
think it's
relationship that really has to
yes.
be built on trust.
Yes. And
So,
so it
yeah,
sometimes helps when you go on someone's website and you go on their about page and you're like, oh my God, they are the oldest of four girls. I am too. Or oh
right.
my goodness, they love English bulldogs. I do too. So it's like, and then it gives you something to talk about, which then connects you, which then bridges that gap
Right.
between random person and then them becoming a client.
So I know you also use breath work and meditation, and I'm curious, how do those work together or do you use them with your clients? And if so, how do you blend those together?
Yeah, so I started offering branding clarity breathwork at the beginning of this year, and it's essentially a breathwork session where I lead them through guided breathwork in order to tap into the creative part of their brain and kind of allow them to sit with their brand and the ideas that they're thinking of. And through breath work, you enter different wave states of the brain, which can allow you to like get into the subconscious and really kind of clear away all the doubt. And so I feel like a lot of people in the beginning, they might be like, oh, I love pink, but is pink too girly? And then, oh, I love this icon, but everyone has this icon. Or just kind of, there's a lot of external opinions, I feel, for a lot
Mm,
of people when they're kind of brainstorming what they want. And so I feel like by sitting in breath work and meditation, you can really clear away the external noise and just kind of be like with yourself and be like, this is because it's for you and for your client, but just kind of knowing if it feels right for you.
Right. Just share a little bit what exactly breath work is for people who might be listening that don't know what that is.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different kinds of breath work. There's like long 30, 40-minute journeys to an hour. There's also just like 1 to 5 minutes. You can do different breath work sequences, but essentially, breath work is controlled breathing that's designed to activate a certain part of the brain or accomplish a certain thing. So there's breath work that puts you into the parasympathetic, relax and digest mode of your brain. And then there's also more invigorating breath work that can really activate your body and get the blood flowing. There's also certain breath works where you can tap into certain hemispheres of your brain. So I believe it's closing the right nostril. Breathing just through your left nostril ignites your creative flow, so you can do um, breath counts through that left nostril to ignite the creative part of your brain. So it's essentially just, um, I lost the word. It's essentially just controlled breathing
Okay.
that allows you to access certain
Different parts of your
different
brain.
parts of the brain.
And is this something people can do on their own
Yeah,
or okay. So
absolutely.
for someone who's new to breath work, what's one of the easiest ways to start without feeling overwhelmed or
Yeah.
intimidated?
So one of my favorites is equal ratio breathing, or box breathing is what it's also called. And so that's when you breathe in and out and hold at the top and bottom for equal counts. So you'll breathe in for 4 counts, hold at the top for 4 counts, exhale for 4, and then hold at the bottom for 4. And then you repeat that a few times. You can do it for 1 minute, you can do it for 5. Um, and then the 4-7-8 breath is more of a relaxing breath. So that's you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then breathe out for 8. Those activate more of the parasympathetic nervous system. And then also, if you're like needing a creative spark, you can plug your right nostril and breathe in your left nostril for 4 counts, hold at the top for 4, and then breathe out for 4. And so there's
I've
different
heard
like
of that one,
combos
but
of
I'm going
that.
to try that one for the creative side
Yeah.
now. I've done the other ones and
hmm
I have done them with my clients, but the I've heard of the block your but I didn't know it had to do with the creative side, so that's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
cool.
either the right or the left. I can't
I'll
remember, but
Google it or
but
I'll ask
each one of them,
ChatGPT.
each
Yeah.
one of them does something different. One's the masculine and one's the feminine. So
Okay,
one's like I need
perfect.
to get shit done, and the other one,
Well, the left side is more feminine,
I
so it
think it is the
probably
left.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. So I'm curious, have you can you share a powerful transformation that you've witnessed through breath work?
Yeah, so earlier in the year, I rebranded a massage therapist, but she's not an like a any old massage therapist. She's a like a soul centered massage therapist. So she's Reiki certified, and she does a lot of like tarot readings and grief counseling, things like that. And so she has a very healing touch. And when we were starting to work together, she was interested in the breath work for many reasons. Obviously, it's like kind of her line of
Right.
work. So she was very into it. But before getting into it, she was thinking very like earthy colors, more like neutrals, things like that. And then when I led her through the breath work, she saw a lot of like more of the darker tones. So it was like navy blue and like this really pretty pink and like gold. And it's interesting because when those things first came up, she was very confused because that's not what she was originally thinking. But she connected it with there's like a darker side to her brand and how she deals with like grief and really helps people
Mm,
move through that. And when we were after the fact, we looked at her like Pinterest board and everything that she had put together before I got into the creative direction. And a lot of the colors that she had actually like picked were like of the night sky and the moon. And it was very like moody, and everything kind of came together. And now that her brand's done, I can't imagine it being any other color.
anything
Like
that,
it
yeah.
definitely fits in the energy that came through in the breathwork. So I thought that that was super cool because it ended up being something that she wasn't really thinking in the first place.
Yeah. When I had my logo created a few years ago, my website at the time were all these muted colors, right? Because I do energy work and I do meditations and all the things. And the guy came back and my logo was like this magenta, this bright navy, lime, right? And I was like, whoa. And he was like, you have bright lipstick. And at the time I had purple in my hair. He's like, and purple hair. Why would you
Why?
think it would be anything other? And I was like, whoa, talk about
Mhm.
being seen, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, because I was trying to, I think, create my website on how I wanted my clients to feel, but really it wasn't a reflection of who I was,
Yeah.
right? And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, so I guess I have to redo all my website pages.
Yeah, and I feel like it's super easy to kind of do what other people are doing as well. So I think
Yeah,
like for her as a massage therapist in the holistic wellness space, like a lot of that is very you think greens, you think creams, you think
right,
like very earthy neutrals, but in actuality there's so much more depth to what she does. And so I think that it's easy to just kind of stick with what everyone else is doing and like do the neutrals and not stand out too much, but in actuality, the way that you actually express who you are is through color. Like color just
right.
adds so much dimension to things, it adds so much emotion, and yeah, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of color.
It's just it always makes me chuckle. I met him actually in person a few months ago and I was like, I have to tell you, that was the like such an experience of like, wow, talk about being seen.
Yeah, I mean he did good work because
Yeah.
I agree. Like you have red glasses on, red lipstick, your nails are
Right.
purple and blue.
Right, exactly, right? And I was like, "Oh, these muted colors." And yeah, there's nothing muted about me. So I'd love to talk because I know you kind of have been at a crossroads and like where am I going? What am I doing like when you started your business? And I'm sure there are many people listening to our conversation today and they're at a crossroads and wanting to pursue their passion, but maybe holding themselves back. What advice would you give them right now to like just, to choose and to move forward?
I kn- I know it's kind of cheesy and cliche, but to just start and you don't really have to like quit your job and jump into this next venture and then like give it your all. I mean, that would be great, but it's not necessarily the best idea because again, you need to be financially supported and if you're just like quitting your job and doing going into something else, like you're probably going to end up being more stressed and lead yourself to burnout. So you want to do it in a sustainable way, but keep keep your job and just like slowly start chipping away. If it is a business that you want to start, maybe pick a business name and like start brainstorming the kind of vibe that you want your business to give off. Maybe build a logo, maybe start asking around. Like networking is such a wonderful way to meet people and kind of see the need for your type of business anyway. And maybe ask a friend of a friend if anyone's interested in like getting coached for 4 weeks for 30 minutes or so if that's the industry. But
Right.
I think there's just so many small ways that you can slowly get started, but it's not going to happen overnight and it's not going to happen just because you want it to happen. You have to actually make action take action towards it. So I would say the most important thing would be to
It's
just
just
start.
start. I love that. And I would even add, if you're somebody in a corporate job that wants to leave, so I work with many women who that is
Mhm.
there. I work with both entrepreneurs, but also women in corporate that have like a side passion that they want to pursue. And often what we talk about is, staying in that job is a choice, right? Like if you're making it a conscious decision to pay the bills, if you're doing it from a place of fear, scarcity, and lack because you don't think the money's going to come somewhere else, that's different energy. And that's energy
Mhm.
we have to clear and heal. But if
Mhm.
you're doing it from a place of choice while you're building the
Mhm.
business, there's less likelihood of burnout
Yes,
and
for sure.
you're doing it from a place of consciousness and you don't feel like you're at the like you can't get out that yeah
Mhm.
so it's a different energy when you're staying versus feeling like you don't have a choice.
Yeah, definitely.
How can our listeners find you and work with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Soul Bright Studio. My
And that's
yes,
Solbrite,
yes,
just so
that's
people
important.
know.
I always
Yes, it'll
forget
be
to.
all in the show notes, but I just want to say that as well.
Yes, it's got some unique spelling. And then my website is solbrightstudio.com, Solbrite.
Yeah.
And then my podcast is Inspired by Design, and that's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And yeah, I think that's all. I have a blog on my website as well that has things, and
Yep. And
I'm
we have
also
the
very
link to
active on
that.
Pinterest.
Okay. We have the link to that. And then also you have an offer that you want to make to the listeners that they can subscribe to your email list and we'll put
Oh
that
yes.
in there. And then you also, the monthly mindset is
Oh
that
yeah. For my email list, I send out a monthly email. It's just like a monthly mindset push. Just
nice.
like kind of something fun to read and feel better about. And then I do some like of my favorites from that month of just like all things. So like reading, podcasts, lifestyle, things like that.
Nice.
Did I send the link to that? I don't even remember what I put.
Yes, I have that. Yep, I
Okay,
have that.
perfect.
So that'll be there. So I love to always ask this question. What is something you live by that you want to share with our listeners?
Oh, I love that. What is something that I this is gonna sound really cliche too, but I just feel like I have to say because it's the first thing that popped in my mind.
Always
But
go with it.
I love the quote, "Be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire." And it's
Mm,
funny because that was my yearbook quote a long time ago, and mm, I feel like it couldn't be more true in my life today. And so I feel like even though things can be super hard and starting a business is definitely not easy, but if you're going fearlessly in the pursuit of something that you're meant to do and lights you up and you're passionate about, no matter how long it takes, it's going to be worth it. And I think it's kind of like that idea of like choose your hard. So staying in a job that doesn't light you up is hard. Building a business that lights you up is going to be hard, but like which one would you rather
right. Which
have?
is your,
So
yeah,
I
I
think
love
you can
that.
apply that to really any aspect of your life.
I love that. Oh, this conversation has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
As you know, I pull cards, and today we're pulling from the Animal Guide Tarot,
Fun.
which is kind of fun. I just intuitively choose a deck, so I don't really. So I've got three cards in front of me.
Mhm.
Left, center, and right. So I'm going to have Sarah pick first and just maybe take a deep breath and just see what message you need to hear. And for those of you listening, do the same.
We're gonna go with left.
Left. All right. So this is Page of Earth, cheerful, reliable, intelligent, mischievous. And it's a tabby cat.
Mhm.
And it says, a wonderful opportunity related to your work or education, such as a promotion or scholarship, is coming your way. Seize this chance to learn something exciting or start a more rewarding and uplifting career.
Ooh.
Mhm.
So interesting. I just saw like a purple aura above your head. I don't know if it was my screen or what it
Very
was, but it was
cool.
kind of weird.
I love that. For those that chose center, it is the King of Earth, compassionate, accomplished, charismatic, and grounded. It is an Irish cob horse.
Oh, that's
And it says, everything's going to turn out great. Projects will be stunningly successful. Exciting new career opportunities are possible, and money or resources that come your way will be invested wisely.
mm.
And if you chose right, unity, and it's a polar bear. Look at that polar bear. Isn't it the
Oh, it's
cutest little
so
thing?
cute.
And it says, embrace this time of deep spiritual growth. Spend time with others who are also on a sacred path. Compare traditional methods with new ideas. I
Those are
love
good
that.
cards. Those were all wonderful.
I know. They all have like a theme of our conversation, and I
They
don't look
do.
at them before, and I always love how there's some kind of theme woven in. So sometimes I want a pink, and I'm like, nope, we're going to be surprised.
I love it.
Sarah, thank you so much for this conversation. It was so much fun to have another conversation with you because we've already done your podcast, which
Yeah.
you can all find that on it's on everywhere, right? And I'll
Yeah.
be posting it soon. I've been a little crazy this month, but I will be
Yeah.
sharing it on all my socials
Yeah.
soon as well. So, Sarah, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.